age?
I'm 17.
Great.
12.
Well, so senior. So, me and you have talked before multiple times, been friends for the last 2 years now. And I'm a junior, so I've just kind of seen you come from your sophomore year to now. So, let's start from the beginning. Back from when you kind of fell into different major clubs, per se.
I don't know, like, I feel like the first time I thought I was different was when I realized that my family was different, you know? Like, and then that's something that I build off a lot of my stuff, like, the way that I think and stuff. I know that it all derives from noticing that that I wasn't raised the same, that I didn't have the same basic, like, building blocks that everyone else had. And I think that's when I first looked at myself and I knew I questioned, like, what was wrong with me for the longest time.
So, how did your family separate from maybe a typical family achievement?
Well, like, I mean, the ones on TV that you see when you're, like, little, you know, you would look at them and there's a mom and a dad and kids and they are together, they're family, you know, and from the beginning, like, my mom didn't really care about me, you know, she just, I mean, I don't know, she stopped breastfeeding me after a day of having me. She tried it and then apparently she didn't want to stay clean, so she went back to meth and didn't breastfeed me anymore. So I feel like just like the relationship between me and my mom set things apart, and then my mom and my dad were always fighting. Every holiday, like, still to this day, holidays are terrible. Like, I absolutely hate holidays because of the fact that there's just so much, like, fighting connected to it, you know?
So was it just your mom who was addicted to drugs, per se?
No, my mom and my dad both did meth for, I don't know, my mom started when she was 16, and my dad, I don't really know, he wasn't really as open about it, you know?
So you knew for sure, like, would you see your mom do it? Did you witness it?
I didn't know for the longest time, like, everybody where I used to live, North Powder, like, they would tell me, I can't come over to your house is a meth house, you know, they'd tell me that, and it would, like, register, like, okay, your parents are butts, like, you know, what's wrong with your parents, like, why won't they let you come over? But I saw it when I was 15, I saw her do it, she was freaking out about me being in the living room, and so she was like, I don't know, she sent me to Mackenzie's room initially, and I was sitting in there, and I kind of looked through the crack of the door, and I heard a lighter go on, but I didn't hear it go off, you know, so she was obviously holding it, and so, like, I looked out there, and I saw her holding a nice big glass thingy above a flame, and I knew what it was at that point.
So at that point, is that kind of when things started to change for you a lot more, per se?
Yeah, because at that point, I knew what I was looking at, you know, like, I knew once you understand something, you tend to push it to the limit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when my mom would call me fat, I would look at her and I'd tell her, well, if I did meth, I'd be skinny too, you know? And that, like, ever since I saw her do it and I knew for sure, like, I would just be like, yeah, well, I know your dirty little secret, you know?
And then at what age or during what time did you find your dad was doing it as well?
I noticed, like, when I was like 10, I would find, like, needles all around the house when I was living with him and my sister. Because my mom and my dad broke up when I was, like, 7, and they never got back together after that. And so I would find needles around the house when I was cleaning and stuff, and my mom smoked it, but my dad shot it, so it was, like, this contrast for me, because I had, like, you know, when somebody says, I smoke pot, like, you think of one way they do it. You don't think of the medibles, or, you know, you don't think of that. So that's when I didn't, like, connect needles to meth, because the smoking it was in my brain. So I didn't know then. But then my dad, I asked him about a scar he had on the inside of his arm, and he told me that he fell on a fence, and, you know, it was a little fishy. I didn't, you know, and then quite recently, because he's half paralyzed now, so he is in a nursing home and stuff. So when I talk to him in there now, I'm like, he's more honest about his past. Like, he doesn't want it to hold him back or us slow down on him for it. So he told me that that's what was going on the whole time.
And how did you cope with that for the years being with him?
I didn't really know. It's kind of like my dad. He was never, like, really violent. He didn't do it when we were around. He did it on the weekends when we'd go spend the night with our mom, you know. So, I mean, I have to almost give him praise, because he wasn't as bad as my mom was, you know? So it's kind of like the better end of the shitty stick.
And a lot of us, all of our kids, I mean, of course, we're all still growing up. We still have a lot more time to go. We see our mother as a very, you know, a very big role model in our life, especially for girls like yourself. You know, you look up to her. You want to be the best you can be, per se, for her as well. A lot of the time, correct?
Yeah.
And seeing that did that break you down?
It breaks me down now. I mean, because I realize that there's nothing that's going to please her, you know? And I actually just recently saw on Facebook that she was saying that I was dead to her and stuff like that because I put my cousin in jail for false, charges and stuff. So, I mean, it hurts now. It didn't hurt back then because I didn't really understand that I was missing something. But, growing up now, I miss it. I know for a fact that there's just a part of me that was never nurtured, that was never, you know? And I think that that's what causes it now. I don't know. She was there, but she wasn't. It's really hard to explain because she just didn't care. I mean, she didn't tell me that she loved me. She didn't, hold my hand like that. Those are things that most kids, get, and I just didn't.
It's a hard thing, honestly, and I understand where you're coming from. Your mother was there physically, but emotionally, mentally, she wasn't there for you. And to read the things that you just told me, it's hard for you. It's hard for you to cope with it, correct?
Yeah.
And now that was only 3 years ago when you had said you've seen her at age 15, and you're 18 now. How have you developed from that?
I think a lot of it helps that I don't talk to her or see her, I don't know, I just put one foot in front of the other and try and focus on other things, because in all reality, I could sit here all day and think about things that I could have changed or that could be different, or what would happen if I had a normal life. Well, I mean, it'd be nice to think about, but I don't have the time to sit here and think about what it is, what it isn't, because this is what it is.
And how did it make you feel like that?
When I first noticed it, I felt empowered, if that makes any sense. I had something. I finally had something to where I knew that she was doing it. I had proof. I actually ended up stealing that pipe because it was in a little box. And I ended up stealing it, and I put it between this little crack that me and Kinsey had this, we shared a wall, and there was a crack in the middle of it, and I put it down there. And she she said something, she was really jealous of me, and I don't know why, but meth, it makes your brain decrease. You never get any smarter, you never retain any more information. It completely digresses everything. So when she started, when she was 16, she's younger than that now. I mean, if you think about it in her head. So jealousy is a big thing for people when they're younger, that it really is. And so I think that's what that stems from, is the fact that she's stuck in that age. And so she said something to me, and I told her that I was going to take her kids away. I told her that I had something, that I have proof that I'm taking her kids away. And it just spiraled out of control. She called Gary, which is her husband, who actually makes meth in his house, which is the house we were living in. And he came home and told me to get out, and I was like, okay. So I went towards the door, and he pushed me on the ground. I tried to get up again, and I hit the ground again. And this happened a couple more times until I decided that I should just stay on the ground because it was beginning to leave marks. I mean, I was hitting the ground really hard. And then they locked me in a bedroom for 3 days. They cleaned out my bedroom, locked me in a bedroom for 3 days, and I mean, I was allowed to go to the bathroom, and they fed me. I wasn't, abused in that sort of situation, but I was literally locked into a room until I gave them the pipe.
And did Gary ever, per se, put his hands on you, abuse you?
That one time, my mom really was the one that enforced things like that. She used to beat the hell out of us. I remember one time she punched Mackenzie in the face, and the time right before I left, the last memory that I have of my mom is looking up at her while she had put herself on top of me, punching at my face, grabbing at my clothes. She ripped my shirt. I mean, that's literally the last memory that I have of her.
And hearing all this, coming to TAP, did it change you at all? Or being around
There's
these people?
actually a lot of adults here that I am so happy that are in my life. You know, like Sandy Tucker and Miss Dressler, people like that. Like, they sincerely give me an outlet for all of this. And I think that if I would have went somewhere else, I don't know if I would have made the same connections. I don't know if I would have had, you know, somebody to talk to, which is a big thing, you know, because I'm a very vocal person. I really am. Like, if you want to know something, you can ask me, and I'm going to tell you the truth.
I learned that when I first met you. So I can take it as you separate yourself from a lot of maybe the other students here, per se.
Yeah, I don't mingle with them. You know, I don't, just because I'm so much older in my head. I feel like, and maybe that sounds a little weird, but I feel so mature in my head because I've had to be grown up for so long that a lot of them, like a lot of the people around me, are just asinine, like, you know, redundant, and where are we still in middle school kind of thing.
I understand. And here it's being different from 7 to 12, so we mingle both with younger.
Yeah, with
crowd,
younger and older.
The younger mingle with the older crowd, and older with the younger. So it's different. I mean, everybody's of different mentality, and you've grown up at a younger age than many people could not perceive what you have been through. Honestly.
No, I don't think that. I don't really think anybody knows, to be honest. Like, sometimes I think to myself, like, oh, this is going to get around and then people are going to know. But, I mean, in all reality, I think that I come off as a really normal person, and at least an average one. I mean, I think that everyone goes through their own stuff, so I'm assuming when people look at me that they know that something along my lifetime has happened. But nobody knows what it is, you know.
And you said that you saw needles with your dad and such, and when you first witnessed the needles, you saw your mom, you heard the lighter, all that combined, what, instead of being empowered, did you ever feel like sadness, you kind of breaking apart on the inside, perhaps?
See, and that might be the case for most people. Most people probably would feel sad about it. Most people probably, you know, don't want their parents to be like that, but you have to understand, that's all my parents have ever been. From the second I was born, both of them were on drugs. From the second I was born, this is what I was born into. It wasn't like this happened somewhere along when I was little, you know. From the second I was born, this is what it was. And I think that's what most people think. They think that I'm sad because I don't have this, or I lost my parents to meth. I didn't lose anybody. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were the same people that they are right now.
Would you say that right from the start, you lost your parents when you
Yeah, and I think that I knew it, if that makes it. I don't know if that sounds odd or not. I just believe in this thing. Like, from the beginning, every time my mom left me somewhere, I would cry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody wanted to watch me because all I would do is sit there and cry. And it makes me think that maybe I knew from the very beginning that I wanted that, you know? And I wasn't going to get it, but I think that knowing that it wasn't just now, that this has been the whole time, it makes it easier to cope with, because, like, the longer something's been the same, I mean, it's easier to, you know, it's easier to handle.
Mm-hmm. And you, Mr. Mo?
I can honestly say that I don't. I really, I miss a figment of imagination that I put out there. Like, I miss the mom that I want, but she's never going to be that to me.
And how much your dad?
Oh, I miss my dad deeply. My dad, I know that he's made mistakes and he's not been perfect this whole time, but in all reality, he's the reason that I'm not dead in a ditch somewhere, you know. He did try, and I think that's what, I think that's why I have respect for him, is he did try to teach me right from wrong. Even though he was going down a bad path himself, he didn't let us see it. I've never once seen that man struggle.
Mm-hmm.
He did not let us see it, you know. And I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but he did a really good job for the time that he had us. And then after his first stroke, I resented him. Like, I hated my dad for that whole time, because, I mean, at 10 years old, I shouldn't have been cleaning house. house. I shouldn't have been doing his pills. I shouldn't have been making sure Kenzie gets a bath. I shouldn't have been the mom. And he really put me in that position. He knew he put me in that position. And so I was really angry for a really long time because I didn't think that, why should I have to grow up, you know? And then when he had a second stroke, it was horrible. I remember going back to my mom's house and like slowly realizing that I was going to have to stay there. It was probably one of the hardest moments of my life because I knew what my mom was at that point, but I just didn't know like what was gonna take. I don't know. I've left a lot. Like I think that's probably one of my only problems in life is that when something gets sticky, when a situation gets too much for me to handle, I will leave. I will leave, I won't stay, and I think that's from the beginning. I mean, you see people do things from when you're little and you know, like then you do it.
And as we grow up, when we're younger is when we're most vulnerable per se.
Yeah.
Due to what we see our parents do, we are almost intended to do as well, depending on where we go.
Well, and like that's the only thing that I struggle with, to be honest. I come from a line of firstborn girls that are the same people. They are legitimately the same person. They raise the same person. My great grandma was addicted to drugs. Used to beat my grandma. My grandma was addicted to drugs. Used to beat my mom. My mom was addicted to drugs. Used to beat me. And the hardest thing is, I don't want to be that, Jerry. I really don't. And I mean, people looking at me, they don't know that I'm battling this every day. But this is an everyday thing. You wake up and you know that this is what is supposed to happen. And even though people like to tell me, oh, Kenna, you can get out of it. Kenna, you can get out of it. Okay, well, Kenna doesn't feel like she can get out of it. You know what I mean? Kenna feels like this is inevitable. And nothing that anybody says is going to make that better. Nothing that anybody does is going to make it better. I have to do myself. And that's really an everyday struggle for me.
If you had the chance, came off, let's per se here, say something metaphorically, what would you say?
I think I tell her that even though she can't love me, I love her. And that, I don't know, I mean, I like to look at the positive side of things, and I think that I've become a really strong person because of it. And so I tell her thank you for that, you know.
Well, what are the negatives as well?
The negative? I tell her that she's a shitty person. I tell her that she never deserved to have kids. I would tell her that she should have kept her legs closed because it's so hard to deal with this now. Like, that's what, I don't think anybody understands that just because, like, saying your parents do drugs is not just saying your parents do drugs. That's saying a lot for yourself because you have like this heavy burden on you all the time. The lying, the stealing, the everything that they're doing, it falls on you. Kids at my school used to look at me like I was my mom, you know? It didn't matter. It's the same thing. And there's a lot to cope with when your parents do drugs. It really is. It's a big thing.
So, coming from that and coming to school every day and doing your weekends, what's your daily life like? You know, what goes through your head? Seeing all the people here, seeing them smiling, laughing, knowing that they all have a different life, and then there's you.
See, I know that everybody has their own hell. My hell happens to be inside of myself a lot of the time because yes, I'm out of the situation, but no, mentally I'm still struggling. But I know that everybody has it, so I don't look at people in envy, and I don't look at them like, man, you don't know what good of a life you have, you know, because I don't think that there's any perfect life. I don't think anybody has a perfect life, but I think a lot of people take it for granted. Just their parents being there, just their parents not. Ooh. I was saying that people take a lot of things for granted. But like I was saying, I think a lot of people take it for granted. And I think I see that every day. Like, it makes me feel really bad to see people treat their mom like crap that just when their mom cares about them, you know? And like that, I mean, that bothers me. Yeah. Like, I think that's probably the only thing is that I don't know if it's really a jealous thing, but it's more. It definitely is like you should cherish what you have because it really sucks not to have it, you know. And I think that's the only thing that I really notice about other people. My daily life is, I don't. I mean, I get up and I do the same things, but I find myself doing things for other people. Like for my sister. Most of my decisions are based around her. Most of my decisions are, what can I do to make Kinsey feel better? What can I do, you know? And I don't know. And then I lay in bed at night and I know that I should have put myself first. That, you know, it was silly of me, but I'd do anything for her. Like, she's probably the only person in this world that I would do anything for. You know, she's just been there the whole time.
Do you ever wish you had a different life?
All the time. But I try not to because it's like redundant. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change. It is what it is. I was given the hand of cards I was dealt. So might as well not wish that I got all aces, you know. It's not going to do any good.
So, I'm familiar with you and Kenzie, obviously two are sisters, and Kenzie has her own story, and you being the older sister, how does she become a part of yours? You said she's a big part, you said you've been with her before, how is she such a big part of yours?
Because, like I said, I've been taking care of her since I was 10. I mean, I've bonded with her in a way that I don't necessarily think that she's bonded with me. I don't think that she accepts me as her mother figure, and I don't think that she has to, but I definitely see her as somebody that I have to protect and I have to take care of. It's like instincts inside me that I can't really control even, but Kenzie's story is completely different, and I think that honestly, if you were to sit here and interview us both, you'd hear two different stories completely. I don't think that there'd be even the slightest overlapping because, I mean, take for instance the time my mom cheated on my dad when we were little, like little. Kenzie's probably 2, I was probably 4, and it was Christmas Eve, and the guy comes strutting in our door, and my dad hits him over the head with a frying pan. From my angle, from what I remember, that's what I remember. That's exactly how it played out. But Mackenzie doesn't remember anything. Kenzie thinks that this is just some made up story, you know. She was there and she remembers Christmas, but she doesn't remember that happening. And I think that's a lot of what Kenzie does is block things out because it's just easy. It's easy to, that didn't happen. What are you talking about? That's not me. And that's the biggest difference between us is I have a story and I want people to know it. I mean, if I could tell everybody my story, I would. You know, and I think for more than anything, it would give them the right to judge me. You know, everyone's so afraid of being judged. I'm not afraid of being judged. I want to know what you think because it ends up being better in the end for me because I can know what other people see. And Mackenzie would rather be normal. Mackenzie wants to be what everybody else is. And that's the major difference.
And what you'll see is people will have all their own opinions, people will have their judgments, but what it does to you, you've built from your past.
I completely do. Like, me being able to sit here and say that I'm a strong person, I mean, that's because I know. I'm not one to pat myself on the back, I'm really not. And you know that. I'm not going to sit here and boast about myself, but I'm a strong person. And I can take a lot. And I have taken a lot. And if you can sit there and say that, I don't really even know, like, a critique. I don't know what anybody would say, but I mean, I would learn from it and I would gain from it because what everybody else has to say and what everybody else thinks isn't going to break me down. Like, I refuse. That's the stupidest thing.
And you're in the next step. You're here, you're giving us your story. People will know, and it's the next big thing you
But I think talking about it, like every time you talk about it, it gets a little easier to deal with. And I really do believe that. And I write a lot, so I mean that's just who I am. I've always been that way. I've always, like, Miss Dressler uses my writing pieces in class sometimes. You know, I don't care who reads my stuff. I don't care because I want people to know, and I've always been like that.
So being here at top your very first year to now, how has that helped you?
My very first year was 8th grade year, actually. I was here in 8th grade, and then I went back, and then I came back in my sophomore year. But my first year here was really hard for me because I come from a school with like 300 kids, K through 12. So, really small.
Yeah.
And so when I come in here, it's like, this is huge. This is, like, oh my goodness. And I don't think people perceived me in the way that I wanted to be. I just wanted to be what Mackenzie wants to be. I wanted to be somebody that they liked me. And I just remember a lot of fights and a lot of drama. But I like I said, there's always been those teachers here. There's always been somebody to talk to. There's always been, and I think that's what Taft is in all reality. Taft is a big family, and not everybody fits in as big as they want to be, and not everybody has the place that they necessarily want, but they still have a place regardless. And I think that, I don't know, like our teachers know our students. Our teachers know our students' parents. Like, they know our situations. They know, I could tell any of my teachers what's going on with me. I could tell them anything, and they know. Like, it wouldn't be something shocking to them. Like I just told Mr. Howe that I had to go run clothes to Heidi's house, and he let me go, and he didn't even ask me any questions because he knows he knows me.
So, at home where you are now and school, are you different there from here?
At home where I am now, no. At home where I was last week, yes. Living with my aunt and uncle was probably harder than living with my parents.
How so?
Because my parents knew what they were. I mean, you growing up, they knew what they were, but my aunt and my uncle, they lied about it. They smoked pot, they drank, they took pills, they took my pills, like, that I got prescribed, they would take those, but they would lie about it. And hypocrisy is such a big thing to me, because why lie? You know what I mean? I see no point in lying. Lying does nothing. Lying doesn't, and in the long run, it's going to bite you in the butt anyway. I don't see a point in it, and that's all they did. That's all they've ever done. We lived with them for 3 years. I lived with them for 3 years. Mackenzie's lived there for 2. And I cannot express to you how much of a relief it is to know that I don't have to go back there.
So for the 3 years that you were there, how did you cope with that then, compared to living with your parents?
I completely shut myself out. I was done. I sat myself in a bedroom all day. I didn't talk to anybody. I just sat there, and I completely vegetated out. I was not in my body. I would just lay there, mindlessly watch TV. I didn't care. And then I would get up the next day, go to school, and just be who I am. But I was so afraid to be myself there, I couldn't be. Like, I was afraid that there was going to be repercussions that would impact my life.
So how we see you here is not how you are at your house at all.
No.
You were a completely different person.
Yeah.
And that's due to you dealt with the lying,
Yeah.
the deceiving. They hid it from you.
Yeah.
They didn't even want to tell you.
And they treated us like we weren't important. Jerry, we weren't even allowed to go in the kitchen and eat.
Did they neglect you?
I don't know if neglect is necessarily the word. They didn't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only reason I ever got in trouble was because I got told on. They never caught me in a lie. They never, and they made it out to be, oh, we caught her. No, they didn't. They didn't know. They didn't pay attention. I used to sneak out of my house all the time. Man, I'm just going to admit all this on camera. Mr. Howe?
And did you ever feel pushed to this point?
Yeah, actually, my counselor, Sina, I had Lisa come in once, and I told Lisa, I said, I feel like if you don't quit pushing me, if you don't, then I'm going to go over an edge, and I'm not going to care what I'm going to do, and she told me that she felt threatened. So, I was like, yeah, okay. I guess that's how it is then.
Okay, so my last question is, do you ever, like, ever think to yourself, if you sit down and you feel sorry for yourself, say, like, why did I have to go through this? Why couldn't I have a better life? Why couldn't I have the parents I wanted? Why couldn't I have the mother who nurtured me and loved me?
I don't think that I feel sorry for myself. I think that I wonder what's wrong with me. Like, why did I not get to have that? Like, what did I do to cause that?
Do you ever blame yourself?
Yeah, a lot of the time.
You blame yourself for what?
I blame myself for Mackenzie not having a place like, I brought Mackenzie here. I was the one who made it happen, and I brought Mackenzie here. And what did I bring her to? Another house where she was gonna get abused, you know?
Were you abused at your parent uncle's?
She did end up hitting Mackenzie.
Not you?
Not me,
How
but
did you feel about Mackenzie being hit? Did you witness it?
yeah, and I felt like the worst person in the world because I brought her here.
Did you allow that to happen?
I called the cops 5 seconds after it happened, so I don't think that I necessarily allowed it, but I couldn't throw myself in the middle of it and then get my phone taken away and have no way of talking to get a hold of anybody.
So if you would have protected your own sister and your own aunt who hit her, correct?
Yeah.
You would have been the one in trouble.
Yeah.
Why was she being hit?
Because she had 2 eyes on her grade report thing.
So for grades, your aunt was going to strike her.
Yes. She pushed her and then, yeah.
Why? And you're working to get out of this all, correct?
Yeah, I'm working to graduate. That's what I'm after.
So where are you now? School-wise and home-wise.
I have all A's and B's in all my classes. I have a few close friends that I talk to. I live at Heidi's house right now. I don't really know where that's going. But, I mean, I can only look up. I can only look to the future because, in my personal opinion, I don't think that my life's going to get any worse, you know? In my personal opinion, I think that I have a bright future, and that's what I have to keep telling myself, or I'm going to sit here feeling sorry for myself all day.
And is religion important to you?
No, I don't really believe in anything, to be honest, and I think that might be why I find myself questioning it a lot, is because I don't know what to believe. And, you know, I mean, I think that I want to believe in something, I just don't know what. So that's where I'm at with religion, and I've been there for a while. I just kind of too lazy to move.
Have you ever fully thought you thought down and decided to be Mackenzie?
No, not really.
So you never thought
I feel at home at Heidi's house, to be honest. I really do feel like part of what they have.
And who's Heidi to you?
Heidi is just, she was Chandra's mom, and she takes in foster kids, so that's who, you know.
So she's taking care of you guys now.
We're living there right now. We don't really know what's gonna happen. We don't know if Kenzie's gonna go back, but from the looks of it, I will be able to stay there, so, until I graduate and turn 18, which is only 3 months away, so.
That's why you look forward to it, correct?
Yeah.